Welcome everyone. Welcome to Twins Tours Academy. And today we have a very special guest all the way from New York. And her name is Crystal Hu. She was in a Holy Land trip just at the first week of April. And she was with the Long Island churches. Two churches came together, the Rock Church and the Three Village Church. And everyone in the group was so touched and was so happy. And Crystal was very special. And she was so much taking pictures and excited during the tour. When she went back, she made a PowerPoint presentation, and she will do this with us today. Hi, Crystal.
Hi, Andre. How are you?
I'm great. I'm great. And thank you for doing this. And so many people from all over the world will hear about this trip and get excited to come again too. Thank you. We appreciate that so much.
Yeah, I appreciate you giving me the opportunity. We really enjoyed the trip. Everyone went, has such amazing experience. And thank you, Andre and Tony's and Pastor Josh and Pastor Henry put all this together. It was amazing. That's
Yeah,
why.
despite it was two churches, but the flow was so great together. And you were one of the first groups in the country. That's when the pilot program has finished. And you had so much faith. Everyone had so much faith and they wanted to come. And because of that faith, they received a lot. And that was one of the top ever tours we have done in the land after the COVID. Actually, you were the first group after the COVID hit for 2 years. So we had so much energy, me and Tony, and together we were in that tour and we enjoyed every minute, like everyone enjoyed it.
Yes.
So go ahead and share with us what you have done specially for everyone. You're so gifted and God is using you so much, Crystal. So thank you for sharing this with us.
All right. Thank you. Like we were so excited to go to the Holy Land because me and my husband just got married last year and we want to go to Israel as our honeymoon, but because of COVID, we won. And this tour came about. Pastor Josh, who was our pastor from Shelter Rock, prior he joining Three Village Church, he organized this trips. And when we saw it, we just jumped on board. But then Omicron came about and some people backed down, and me and my husband want to go because that's our dream trip. We always wanted to go, we always wanted to experience the Holy Land. It's not that we are going to get closer to God. It's just to walk the step that Jesus walked. But we have a joke. Jesus walked, we drive the bus, we ride the bus. That was fun. The trip, Tony and Andrea was amazing. They know the land. Pastor Josh Henry was working with them too, because there were only 3 people from our group. There were total 23 of us, and only 3 people have been there. The rest of us have never been there. There's so much to see in Israel. We want to pack in as much as we can. And we went for 10 days, like 10 days went by so quickly. Visited 40 different sites. Like each site, we can only touch a little bit. Some area we spend a little bit more time. Like Andrea and Tony mapped the trip flow so nicely, and that we were able to see a lot. Like we only scratched the surface. Only day 3, most of us said this trip is already worth it. And after the 10-day, all of us said that we'll go back, definitely go back. So we flew in. So this is our PowerPoint to give you, this is something I learned when Tony introduced the size of Israel. He said the size of Israel is just like the size north and south, east and west, approximately like the size of New Jersey. Because we are from Long Island, we are very familiar with New Jersey. So that gives me a very good perspective. My husband is someone that he likes to know the map, know where he is. But going there, hearing all this is still make a big impact on him. This map is not the current map. I like it because it has all the name very clear. The West End part is shrinking a little bit. We land on Tel Aviv here the night, like we got some delay because of COVID, but God was so amazing. I'm someone that I am super nervous. I want to plan. God is totally in control, everything. And he blessed us with so much. And even it was not the easiest trip because we have to get COVID tests 48 hours prior, get COVID tests in the airport when we landed in Israel, and get COVID test before we leave. If anyone tests positive, like you have the chance of getting disappointed because you either couldn't go or got stuck there after everyone left. But God was so amazing. And I was worried. I had so many people pray for me, my church group, my small group, my friends, and whoever believed in the prayer. I asked them to pray, and the prayer worked. So we start, just give you a highlight. We'll go through that. We'll start here. We landed in Tel Aviv, next to the Mediterranean Sea. And then the day 2, we drove up a little bit north. And that next day we landed, stay in a hotel next to the Sea of Galilee, where Simon Peter fish, and Jesus have his ministry for 3.5 years here, and then visited northern part of the Israel. And then we drove down the King's Highway and stay in the Dead Sea area because Andre and Tony knows the traditional pretty well, and knowing that during from sundown Friday to sundown Saturday, Jews will practice the traditional, they won't do anything. So we stay in the tourist area, enjoying the Dead Sea, flowing in the Dead Sea. And then after that, we went into Jerusalem. So that was pretty much my husband was post us this map of Israel during one of the event there. So this is our tour guide, Tony and Andrea, and our amazing bus driver, Joe. Like the streets in Israel are so narrow. Joe was able to navigate. Like sometimes we circle the same place 3 times that he was doing that so we can see the place more clearly. He's amazing. And we were able to have the privilege to meet Andrea's wife, Marie. And Marie's was from the state, and she was able to accommodate us when we were in Jerusalem. And also I had dinner with Marie's parents, and like this is Tony's favorite things. After we have a good picture, we have him take a selfie, so he's included in the picture. So it was so much fun. These are the people from Three Village, and we found out Mary was the oldest one from the group, and I won't reveal her age, but she was pretty fit because she does a lot of walk after she retired. She's a school teacher. But Tyler and Laura Jane and Pastor Josh, he was one of them that organized the trips. Ken and Lauren, Jim, Basha, and Dottie. And then here are the people from Shelter Rock, Pastor Henry and Grace. Grace is the youngest one from for this group, like she's only 12. And me and my husband and Louis and Gloria. Louis and Gloria was another 2 couples that been to Israel, but they went as a secular, went with the secular tour. So they said this trip is much better in 1,000 ways. And then Dom and Marianne, it was so fun. And Anna, I share here, he's still able to keep up with us and walk, and so you can see. And then Teresa and Helen, and the last not the least, Sally and Fred. And we have people range from 12 to like 70s. And even though we went to so many different places, everyone was able to keep up, and we were on pace, and there's nothing that's boring throughout the whole trips. And so we are so excited. We got to the airport and we took good pictures. And when we got to Tel Aviv Hotel, sorry, my PowerPoint is blocking here. Andrea and Tony arranged George from the Tel Aviv airport to meet with us. That was amazing because without him, we'll get lost. We didn't know, because getting through Israel airport custom was a little bit more complicated than the US custom. And he was able to explain the step. We need to go through 4 steps, and what's the first, second, third, and then he was able to lead us. We land around 8:30, which is 3 hours delay from our original landing time. And By the time we landed, we said, there's no way we can get to the hotel before midnight. So we were prepared. And then when we get to the testing site, the line was long. But amazingly, everything was so efficient. And we were able to get to the hotel by 10 o'clock, like half an hour get through this custom, half an hour got through COVID test, and then half an hour drove to the hotel. Everything worked so well because Andre and Tony planned it so well for us. And then I am going to, so we got to the airport, we met our bus at Tony. He picked us up. And then the next morning, I woke up, I had jet lag. My husband had no problem sleeping through whatever. So I went to the gym. This is the best hotel for me because the gym is amazing. I can see the city. And then during the day, when Tony introduced the city, like there are three major cities in Israel. Jerusalem is the heart, Haifa is the brain, and then Tel Aviv is where we're staying, is the flesh body, more like a Las Vegas, but you can see the city view. Look past that, you can see the Mediterranean Sea. So that was really nice for me. And first morning, we're able to enjoy some local food. We get used to this. Is food in this restaurant is amazing. I love vegetable. They have a lot of like dates and nuts and and then eggs. That was nice. So after the breakfast, we got to tour the city of Tel Aviv. And like we said, Tel Aviv is the city of flesh and is more modern. And the place that we went, like Jonah and Nineveh, you guys probably heard Jonah refused to follow God, and he was there and being swallowed by the whale. And I learned like people grow their orange trees in this little orange things, and the tree is so big. I in my mind, I thought that they probably need a little bit more soil, but it was amazing how they grow. This place is the statue. You can hear the three columns. The first column is Jacob's dream. You can, the 12 stone that they pile on top of here. And then the second one is the sacrifice of Isaac. So Abraham put Isaac on top of the altar and tried to sacrifice him, and God provide. And then the last one is the fall of Jericho. So that was our morning. And then we went to St. Peter's Church. This is something that I learned. The Roman Emperor Constantine was the first one that received the Christian faith, and his mother was influenced for him, and then his mother was a woman of faith, and she loved to find the steps where Jesus been, and she's trying to send people around the countries and find wherever they find a place that Jesus has been and touched, she will build a church. So it's pretty accurate if you see a fancy church, and that's like the first thing we learned, that throughout you can see pictures that that you can see that where like Jesus has been, his disciple has been, and has historical meaning for the places that you will see a Catholic church. And some of the church is amazing. Okay, after tour the city, and we drove up north. My husband put this together, and people thought that was funny. And we went to Caesarea Maritima, and this is the gateway to the Mediterranean Ocean, next to the ocean, because water, good for trade. That's a major trade route. And like the building is amazing, that the big stone, how heavy the stones are, how the people build these kind of theater 20,000, 30,000 years ago, and is still standing. The building was a lot bigger. The theater was a lot bigger, like three-story high, two-story high. All the upper part was destroyed by the weather, but the seat was still standing. And some of us walked down up to the top and tried to test the sound. It was amazing how they designed these. So many people trying to disprove the Bible, like the people that mentioned in the Bible is not real or it's makeup. But here in this theater, when they excavate, when they're trying to reuse the stone, they found the stone. has Pontius Pilate's name on it. And this is a replicate one. The original ones is in the Israel Museum, but you can see that it's written like Pontius Pilate. It has the name, and able to see King Herod's palace by the Mediterranean Ocean, and king likes to enjoy himself. They have fresh water pool in the ocean water, and the ruin. You can see the colonnades standing. And then Paul was kept here before he was shipped out. So that was good for us to see, okay, Paul was captured here. Jonah was there before he went out with the boat. After that, we drove a little bit north and we arrived here at where Elijah's, the priest of Elijah, battling with the priest of bells. And this is I love this tour that we are not only there to see, we're there to experience. And whenever we go into a site, we'll pause. We each carry a Bible. I carry a physical one, and some people use the app. We'll pause, sit down as a group, read the verse where things happen in these places, and that give me a better connection with what happened in that place. And I love that myself. And we at the top of Mount Carmel, looking down to the tails, and far there under the bridge, you can see that where the priest was killed, or the priest of Bel being killed. The only thing, the weather, it was 90 degrees when we were there. And the only thing was that there was a desert sand coming from Jordan, and it was very sandy. You couldn't see far because of that. That was the only thing, but you can control that. We wish that it was a little bit more clear, we can see more. But other than that, the rest of the trip was amazing. So after Mount Carmel, we went to our 4 stops. So here we are at Megiddo. Megiddo is a major trade route because north of Caesarea Maritima, there was mountain. You cannot get to the ocean, just go straight. So they have to get through Megiddo to get to the ocean for trade. So it's a major trade route, or military, stronghold, important point for access, easy access from inland to the ocean. And this is the city gate. It doesn't look like a city gate, but it is soldier will be in the cut in here, staying there, people being checked when they get through the city gate. And King Herod was there. There was chariot, horses, so they have to use the feeding trough to feed their horses. And Tony pointed out the feeding trough that Jesus was put in when he was born was the size of this. It's either a stone trough or a wooden trough, depending on the family. So that was kind of touching for us to see with our naked eye. Oh, that was the element that Jesus was put in. And because Megiddo is high up, military standpoint, you need to be high so you can control the area. So how do they get water is important. Wow, these huge system that they dig under the ground to get out to the outside of the city, that they can get water to sustain themselves. And people were really thoughtful, and we were able to walk down. That was a great walk, not difficult walk, but imagine digging down all of those and walk down. And this is the tunnel when we were walking down and we got out of the city. So after Megiddo, we went to our hotel. So this is our second hotel by the Sea of Galilee. And us and fish. It's amazing to see fish swimming sideways. They are live fish, they're not dead. The next night, we have some time before dinner or after dinner, we went out to look at the view of Tiberia. It's a little bit foggy with the sandstorm, but you can see that out there, the light of Tiberia. So next morning, we drove all the way to Tel Dan, and that's really great for us, just like be there, because you hear King Solomon's territory from Dan to Bathsheba. That was the very north. And in here, they talk of Northern Kingdom people. We drove bus, and at that time, first century, people have to walk down, or before first century, they have to walk from this part to Jerusalem. It's like a week walk, depending on the size of the group. And people build altar. This is where they put the post, is the altar. They put altar here to worship false idols. And is the northern part, like is a city, so they build large food storage so they can sustain themselves for a long period of time. This is our group. I mentioned the size of Israel is like the size of New Jersey, but you can see the different New Jersey, north, south, east, west, the climate is the same. Here, Israel, climate changed dramatically from the north to the south. And north, you can see that is very flush and greens and trees, and looks like New Jersey. And when we get down to the southern part, you see a dramatic difference. And not too far from Tel Dan, when they excavate, they found this oldest arch. It's probably Abraham probably walked through this. I love that a lot of places we went, they show a little scale model to resemble how it looked like before it got destroyed, like maybe wind or like dust got cover it. You can like not able to see the whole thing, but with the scale model, this is the little arch, and here's the little arch, and these are the steps that, and the city wall is right here. That give me a very good view of how it looks like before it got destroyed. So Tel Dan at the city gate, they said only man can sit in the city gate. Women were not allowed, but nowadays women can do that. We have fun with that. And after Tel Dan, we went to the mountain of Caesarea Philippi, mountain of transfigurations. And there are many things happening here. Like we talked about, they built altar in Tel Dan to worship false idol. Here's like in this mountain, they also have false idol carving. People were worshiping false idol. This cave called the Gate of Hell, they worship, sacrifice, like even babies. Throw them in there. That's maybe why they give the name of Gate of Hell. But what's amazing for me is in this mountain, Jesus was asking Simon Peter, who do you think I am? Like this is the picture just showing the false idol they worship, and a lot of like amazing architects here. So Jesus asked Simon Peter, who do you think I am? And Simon Peter said, you are the Son of God. And Jesus said, you said it right, Simon Peter, on this rock, I will let you build a church. And it's somewhere in this region. I think Tony said this is like either like an A side, A minus. We gave each side a grade, like B plus is good. Anything that's B plus is good. That means somewhere in this region within a mile or two that actual event happens. And we visited a lot of like A plus, B plus site, and there's some C that just replicate of how things were. Really love that. And then after that, we okay, I'm pretty picky with food. It's breakfast and dinner were great that you eat at a hotel. You can pretty much find anything you like. Lunch was challenging because we're a tour group, and I like a lot of vegetables and fruit, even though I pack a lot of things, but still hard. And traditional lunch in Israel is shawarma and falafel. I don't mind it the first 2 times, but after a few days, you kind of get tired of eating that, and because there's not a lot of vegetable, I usually eat like 2 or 3 times more vegetable than that, even for lunch. And our pastor, even though this is a little bit more expensive meal to have a meal in the village of Nazareth, but that was one of the best lunch we ever had, like lentil soup. I love soup, and we have fresh oven grilled chickens, and then the little village chef here is making pita bread. We have dips, and we were able to sit down in the shade and connect, and that was good. It's worth it. Definitely worth to have this meal. So this is a place that they is the village of Nazareth, and supposed to be where Jesus was born and raised. Like they said, this is kind of seaside. It might not be exactly where Jesus was raised, but similar. Like his hometown is probably similar. So they have like sheep. This is shepherd, the gate. The shepherd laid down his life for his sheep, so he will lay down here in the gate. He was telling us that. And what do they do with their life besides raising sheep? They have, there's a lot of mountains, so they have to build tiers to grow. You can see at the top of the tier, those are grape trees, and then they harvest the grape. Where the tour guide stands here, we got a different tour guides in the village because that's what they asked us, like our Tony would not be able to guide us, so they supply us with the tour guide. Where he stand is place that you put grape tier, you use foot to press, so you're not crushing the bitterness of the seed, and then the grape juice will come down here with the little things and come down to the second one. That's how they make our wine plus. This is wine plus. The amazing things that I found is olive plus, and the tour guide was telling us that when Jesus, the night before he was betrayed, he was in the Mount of Olive. Mount of Olive means oil press, and Jesus was going in and praying 3 times, each time 1 hour. That represents like connecting with the oil press. So here you can see 3 big stones. Oil press, each press is an hour. The first oil press is the best oil. You give it to the temples, and that's the best. And then the second one you use for food. And then the third one you use for lighting. On the ability to be able to see that, like how it's pressed and how it's connecting to Jesus was praying. He went out and prayed and came back, see Simon Peter and his disciple was sleeping. And he said, you cannot like stand praying with me for 1 hour. And that's why he was so upset, and he was being pressed in that garden because the thought of being crucified was so much on him. He was like human. He was both human and God at the same time. And he was sweating blood because of being pressed. And that was like, a lot of people didn't know that. That was news to me because maybe I missed some of the sermons. And this is another thing that we learned. The parable of the seed, the sower, you scatter seed. And when they build a tier, they have to build walking path for the family to get to the tier. And this walking path that our group was walking, this is hard soil. So some of the seed fall on the path. That's a hard soil being stepped on. Seed would not grow. Some of the seed fell on the shallow soil, which is the edge. And when those wild grass, they choke them, and then some of the seed fell on this good soil, then they will grow. And we are able to experience like when Jesus used that parable, how he connected with the people that listened to it. Another thing is that reminds me Jesus cursed the fig tree, and fig tree that it has to show sign fruit. And in the northern part, even in the southern part, more so in the northern part, there's so many fig trees everywhere you went. Even the Gator Health I showed prior, it has fig tree everywhere. Like these are little fig tree. I didn't zoom in, but you can see little figs on there, little bud there. You can see the sign of figs. And then when figs ripened. This is how they look like. So Jesus did not see that fig. So how do we have like show sign of fruit? That was good to see. And then this is Mount I don't know how to pronounce it. Precipity. So this is the hometown where Jesus grew up, and the people said, "Oh, you're just a carpenter's son," and he's being rejected by his own people. And well, this might be a seaside. I think Tony said might not be exactly there, but somewhere there. So from there, we went to our next step. Our bus drove a little bit north to our hotel area, and Israel was occupied by so many people, like the Romans. They put heavy tax on the people. As we drive along, we see so many caves. Here, little like mountain on the side of the road. People Israelites live in those caves because they want to escape the heavy Roman taxes. And this is the next morning, and we went to Mountain of Beatitude, and where Jesus gave Sermon on the Mount. And before we went, each of us was assigned a little verse to remember. And some of the people figured out we were reciting the Sermon on the Mount. So as a group, we sat there, we recite and take it all in that Jesus was teaching all of us, the Beatitude, and we were able to be there. Like I mentioned, every site, especially a B site, there is a Catholic church built by Constantine's mom, or Constantine. After Mount of Beatitude, we went to St. Peter Church. So this is the Sea of Galilee. You can see the Sea of Galilee. And one fun fact was Israel is a tourist country. So many people like to come and absorb and experience the lands. And before COVID, so many people were going, and you don't want to be in the rain when you visit all these sites. And everyone was praying for no rain. So the water was recessed and very low. But with COVID, 2 years without tourism, no one's praying for no rain. The water has risen, which is a blessing because they do need those. It's a big source of water for them. But anyway, at this is St. Peter's Church. Near this spot, after Jesus resurrected, and Simon Peter, like maybe before Jesus resurrected, Simon Peter and all the disciples went back to do their own things, and Jesus resurrected. He came to the Sea of Galilee. He was grilling fish, and when Simon Peter came back from Sea of Galilee with his fishbowl, Jesus said, "Come and have breakfast, have fish with me." Like throughout the tour, it touched people in a different way. Like this site touched a lot of people in our group. Like Jesus didn't ask Simon Peter, "Oh, come pray," and why did you go back? Why didn't you believe? He just asked him, "Come and have breakfast." And in that, he asked Peter, "Do you believe in me?" Like he asked Peter 3 times, "Who am I? And do you love me?" Jesus asked Peter, "If you love me, feed my sheep." So that's asking us, do I love him? If I love him, I need to feed his sheep. That's his command in that same spot. So St. Peter's Church, again, the door of the church carved out like the shepherd with the sheep, and Jesus asked him, "Feed my sheep," and with his disciple. And from St. Peter Church, we went to the marketplace where Simon Peter lived, which is not too far. You can probably see like the St. Peter Church is in this area. So we drove a little bit into the village where Simon Peter lived. We'll visit by the marketplace, and Simon Peter will fish and come in and exchange fish and get what he needs for his family. And here we read about the scripture, like Simon Peter fishing, and Jesus asked him, "Come, follow me." And he dropped his stuff in his boat and go follow him. And that's where it happens. And then after that, we went into the village and where Jesus, Simon Peter lived. And here, the darker, smaller place, those are the houses that people live. And when they have children get married, they build bigger house. And the bigger one, that's the synagogue. And you can see the synagogue had different color. The lower, like, things got destroyed and then built up. This is something I didn't know before here. Like, we're probably on the same ground as where the city was built, but Israel, all the city like got destroyed. They don't fix it up. They just cover it, and then they build things on top. Even the synagogue was built on top of the old synagogue. You can see the different color, the older color, the Turkish colors, and then the newer colors. That's something new. And that's another view of the Sea of Galilee. Like, it clear up a little bit. You can see but still not able to see the Jordan side here. You can see part of an outline of it, but still not clear. But it's not too bad. And because the water was so low in the Sea of Galilee, and the two brothers, who a kibbutz brother, who they were allowed, and not Israelite people, the kibbutz, and I think they are the one who built this hotels, and one day they walked by the seashore and saw like this shape form of a boat, like, and then when they dig it up, they found like this first century boat is so fragile because it's underwater. They don't want to dry it out. They have to spraying water, and the video shows through like the different process how they preserve the boat, that they are able to have it flow to the museum. And Jesus in the Sea of Galilee, Jesus standing in the boat and teach the people by the shore because people can see him. That's pretty much the size and shape of the boat that he stand on. Is that the actual boat? Might not be, but pretty close. They said this is a first century boat, so give us a pretty good idea of what he was standing in. I know a lot of group will go in and have a boat ride in the Sea of Galilee. We did the same, and we tried to catch fish, but didn't catch fish because we didn't listen to Jesus to throw it at the other side. And after the Sea of Galilee boat ride, some of our group members got baptized in the Jordan. And this is the beginning of Jordan. Jordan has a river, gets water source from Sea of Galilee and from other mountain runoff. And this is the beginning. And like, take note that their feet, you can still see their feet. So we have 3 girls. The youngest one, Grace, was there, got baptized. So was Teresa and Helen. They gave their testimony. And the amazing thing was when they were there giving the testimony, getting baptized, a local Jewish family, 2 sisters, brought their mom. The mom's like 70-some years old. And the mom probably had never seen a baptism, and she was up there hearing the story. She was in tears. And when we finished and we walk up, and they approach our group and talk to us that it's great that they saw a baptism and hear testimonies, and our group was praying for them, that we were able to touch some local people with what we did. That was good. So after the next day, we went down a little bit south of Jordan River, and this is actually much closer to where Jesus got baptized. John the Baptist baptized Jesus and his disciple, and people still went in there and get baptized, and the water is more muddy. And this river divide country of Jordan. You can see this side, that Jordan flag, and on our side is the Israel side, and we were able to have some picture with the Israel soldiers. They're so friendly. They were telling us like what do they have to go through to get into the military, what do they need to do. That give us a good perspective. Like there's one stop called Masada. That's an optional site, and I wanted to go. My husband wanted to go, but some people our group was debating, is that worth to go? And this girl was telling us that every single Israel soldier has to walk up to Masada, and the significance of it. And that inspires so many people from our group to go. But I'll get to that when we get there. So, and After that, we went to the town of Magdalene and Mary Magdalene McGill. And in around like 46 AD, the Roman came and went to this town, and all the village and Israel people just fled and they abandoned this town. And it's not a significant town. The Roman didn't bother to destroy it or keep it out there. So this town was completely ruined and no one was living in it. It covered. Someone came in not long ago, maybe like within 10, 15 years, they came in and trying to build a hotel here. And because there's so many historical places in Israel, they have to do a survey. And as they're doing a survey, they excavate and found this like a synagogue. So you can see that there are Jewish symbols, the color. The amazing thing was there was color in this royal color, because red and orange, those are popular color you can get, anyone can get, but purple and blue, and it's a color so difficult to get because you get like 1,000 seashells and get like a drop of a blue or purple color. And they saw some royal colors. Like my perspective is Mary Magdalene, and she's so close to Jesus after Jesus resurrected. She came back to her hometown and she's someone that has significance. So maybe they built a church in there and were able to get those royal colors. That's just my take. I could be wrong, but anywhere when there's a synagogue, they have to have retro bath. You have to have running water from the mountain, and then have the water have to have a outlet to go. So it's running water, and the water is so clear. And when they discovered this retro bath, and when they excavate, actually spring of water was bubbling in of water coming in, but they haven't found the outlet yet, so they're using sub pump to pump the water out. That was amazing. So in this church, here is a replica of a first century bowl that is a Catholic church. They have mass there. The priest party stand in the bowl to teach, and that was a very good. So this place actually touched me. One of the places touched me the most, because this area was dedicated for women, and they have column in the church showing the name of some of the women in the Bible. One of them is Mary Magdalene, and under the church in the basement, there's this huge photo showing that woman's been bleeding for 12 years. She just touched Jesus outer skirt and she was healed. And then Jesus was healing on the same day, healed that 12-year-old girl that died. The father came and Jesus raised her. So there's a column that without a name, as a woman, you can put your name there. And that time I feel like I am a daughter of God. I have place in his kingdom. That was pretty touching for me. So after that, the next day we drove down the King's Highway. We stopped in one of the town. This is not a biblical town. It's Bashan is by the Jordan Valley, and it's just a town that one of the Romans empire built, and it's pretty big. It has like theaters, and it has a bathhouse, and you can see that is quite large. And we even, yeah, this is the bathhouse, like steam water will come in, and like a sauna. Like, so this is the colonnade, the marketplace, and some of us even went up to the top there to look down the town. After that, we continued driving down the King's Highway down to near the Dead Sea, Qumran, and that's where the Dead Sea Scroll was found. And I mentioned there's so many caves in Israel because there are a lot of mountains and natural cave, and that's what the shepherd boys found the Dead Sea Scroll by accident. And that's another thing that prove the Bible is like actual, is true, because they found the book of Isaiah in that, and to show like how accurate when they copy the Bible. We play a telephone game trying to deliver a message from the front to the end, and it's just a way that Tony wants to show a point that how accurate the Bible copy of the Bible is. And then we drive all the way down to the Dead Sea, and the Dead Sea, the upper part, like where the Jordan Rivers, that's kind of mud. You can see the Dead Sea mud, good for your skin. Buy some too for facial. And then Dead Sea, you can see that there's like a lower part. The latter part is the saltier part. And here's the Dead Sea, and it's still very, like windstorm is still very foggy. You can see the other side, the Jordan side. If it's clear, you can probably see the outline of Jordan. Dead Sea is shrinking, so salt at the edge, at the shore of the Dead Sea, and the water is beautiful, like it's green because of the minerals and the salt, and it's just beautiful. And one thing I didn't know, like my husband knew about the goat milk. I didn't know like a land full with milk and honey. In my mind, I thought just cow milk because that's what we drink. But in Israel, it's goat milk. But honey, it's not bee honey. They don't see a lot of bee, but day honey. When we drove down the King's Highway, you see like millions and millions and millions of day. Like when you see, oh, that's a lot of day, and then you see some more, and people climb up to those trees and get the date, and they get the date honey from that. And also when Jesus came into Jerusalem, people laid down palm branches on the ground to welcome him into Jerusalem. And that's the date palm branches that it's big, so kids probably dragging. It's available in that area, so that's what they use. So you use what the local produce. And even within the mountain, remember I was talking about northern part is so lush and green, and southern part is so dry, but you can still see some greenery here. And next morning we went to the hotel, and the next morning we went up to one of the cave area that where Engida, that's the hiding place of King David. So when King David was running from Saul, he came here and hid himself in a cave, and Saul was tracing him and trying to follow him, and went into those caves. In this area, there's source water, so there's waterfall. And then also you also see some fig tree. So he has water, and then he has fruit, and that's where he hid himself in this area. And there's so many caves. I think we went to one of the caves. Like, in my opinion, it might not be the exact cave that David was hidden, because it's a little bit higher up. For King Saul to go in, he probably won't climb up like a couple big mountains to get himself into that cave. And that's water. And then we walked down, like the whole group was able to walk down. Mark and Mary, everyone was able to walk down. So it's not a hard walk, and we were trying to conquer holding down those rock, and as people walk by. From there, this is our optional stop, Masada. Remember I was sharing, the two Israel soldier was sharing that when they joined the Israel soldier army, everyone had to climb on Masadas, and King Herod like built his palace here. You can see that this might not be a good picture, but you can see one 3-tier palace. I love those scale models show like 1 tier, 2nd tier. This is a round one. You can see the outline of this in the top here. And we took a cable car out. Maybe this is the reason that some people don't like to go to Masada, because it's the second most popular paid site that everyone want to go. Here, the zigzag route, that's how you walk up, or the Israel soldier, you either walk up from this side, the other side. We talked to a couple of soldiers, and some of them said, like one of the boys that we met at the airport, he told us that it takes him 30 minutes to run off because he's very fit. For us tourists, you can walk. It probably take you like a little bit more than an hour, hour and a half. And the cable car ride can be a long wait when it's so popular, but we went up because of COVID. Like, that's God's blessing. There's no tours. Like Andrea said, we were the first tours from the US to there, and we were lucked out that we didn't need to wait. And the Roman soldier, before they conquered Masada, they built camp. Those are the Roman camp. From this top, we can see that it just has a lot of significant meaning to a Jew, that was the last place that the Roman conquers. And the Zealot, like maybe 100 Zealot, was holding up that Masada with their families and children, and they didn't want to be captured, to be slave into Rome. So before the night before Roman soldier went up, they just killed their family, killed their women, killed their children, and suicides. And the reason that is so significant to Israel was they didn't want to be captured, or they swear to defend their lands. And that has a lot of, I think it's a good place for me. And I probably, when I go back to Israel, I probably will walk up. I want to walk up myself, take the time to walk up. So in the afternoon, we were able to spend the day there in the Dead Sea. And a couple of the things I want to show you, it was like pretty, like this was the first day we were in the Dead Sea, and it was still some winds, like sandstorm. You couldn't see the other side of Jordan, but the next day you clear up a little bit. You can see the Jordan mountain here. It's you can't drown in the Dead Sea because but one thing, be careful, don't splash, because when the salt water get into your eye, it can be very irritating for 15 minutes, and it's not a good feeling. You cannot swim. I tried to swim because your feet cannot get down to the water. You can't swim there. Here where we stand, it was one of the extra stops that Joe took us. He said, oh, there is this place that a lot of people go, and we didn't know the significance. We said, oh, we can just look down at the Dead Sea. But when we were there, we saw two people, and they share, this is actually sea level. We are standing on sea level, looking down Dead Sea. See how deep Dead Sea is, how much it shrinks, and is the lowest sea in the world. So after relaxing for 2 days, it's time for us to go to Jerusalem. So we ascended, go up to Jerusalem like everybody else. They walk, we bus, and able to enjoy some hospitality in the Abraham land, and camel ride, has some fun, and there's a trick on how to get on a camel. The ride was fun, and we got a good pictures in that. And then the first place Tony took us is to the Israel Museum. I remember when we were in Caesarea Maritima, we talk about Pontius Pilate, the stone where they found the name. It's in the Israel Museum. Others, like things they found, is in the Israel Museum. They just put a replica in the place. And this is the Israel Museum. Tony took us to look at two things. This is the model of Jerusalem, which is super helpful to see like how things look like. I always enjoy those little models. And it shows the size of City of David and the Three Valley, the Gihon valleys on here, and then the size of the temple, like how big the size of temples, and which is like, this is the southern side where the poor people go in, the western wall around here. That's the closest to the Holy of Holies, and that's the marketplace where Jesus like take over the tables, and like he was mad with the exchange of monies and selling things, and to trying to rip off the old people. And then talked about like where in the Bible Jesus was like crucified on outside of the city wall, and most people thought like that's the city wall, but without knowing there are 3 different city wall within Jerusalem, and there's an inner wall somewhere here that Jesus was crucified. So like it's good for me even to see the scale model, like location, or where the Temple Mount versus King David, where's the outside, where's the valley. So the other things, and also the Antonia Fortress, like Herod built that, like everyone wants to be king, like even Adam and Eve, they want to be God, knowing God, that's a human nature. And he built his fortress a little bit higher than. And the other thing we were there to see is the Shim of the book, where the Dead Sea Scroll was placed. It was a short visit, but if you have time, spend more time there. And when we drove out to Bethlehem, which is controlled by the Muslim, and then we have to go out, but like it's fun to see this way too. And then donkey, we saw a couple of donkeys and thorn. Remember, like people try to put like crown of thorn on Jesus' head, and you see those are the local things that they grew there. These are thorn bushes. It's so pokey, but they're flexible. So that was something. And we drove to Bethlehem, where Jesus was born. They built a church there. It's a big, big church. It's the oldest church in the world. And that's the place that Jesus, they believe that Jesus was born there. If it's not there, it's like somewhere near here within a mile. And this is a big church, but the door, they close out the part of the door and the soldiers standing there. You have to kind of, because sometimes like people ride their horses and things in there, not paying respect to the church. So that's why they closed the door to be so tiny. You have to bow to go in. And there's a lot of like Christian symbol and decoration, like Jesus was born with the saint on top. So every churches they have, it's decorated based on the event that took place. And the next day, we were able to go up to Mount Olive. And from Mount Olive, looking at the city wall and also the Temple Mount, that give you a clear pictures, like Eastern Gate, like where Jesus supposed to go in when he resurrected. The Muslims have their grave there. They thought that Jesus won't walk through the dead people, and they sealed the gate. And like Jesus is God, he can walk through anything. And that's the southern wall, and we'll be there and later in the afternoon. And one of the parables, Jesus said, like, don't be like those whitewashed graves. And from Mount Olive, you can see all these graves that the Jewish people built. And that give you a very clear view of the cities and how Jesus used different parables to share different stories to teach us. And I think that was amazing. And the Eastern Gate was sealed. It's still sealed. And then tomorrow we'll go there and we have a better view from the inside to the outside tomorrow. And Mount Olive. So from coming down from Mount Olive, we went down to Garden of Gethsemane. And that's where the oil plus, like these olive trees, they grow like 1,000, 2,000 years ago. Oh, and new branches will shoot out from the old branches. And this could be the garden that Jesus went and prayed. And there's a church. And all the church was decorated with beautiful olive decoration, like the door here is with olive branches, and all the ceiling, the top of the ceiling, all those are olive. And Jesus went back play, and his disciple was sleeping. And this is another place that touched me the most. Like Jesus was, the night before he was betrayed, he was sweating blood, he was being pressed 3 times. Because I recently watched another movie with my husband, and there's these people being executed, electrical the next day, and they gave him the last meal, and he was just like so nervous. And watching him that, like Jesus' experience was maybe 1,000 times more, because all our sins was on him. So that was really connecting to me, that I was able to be there. And after that, we went to City of David. And that's the route. And I love the scale model. You can see the tree, and we went through the Hezekiah's tunnels. And again, everywhere they build, they have to get water source. And then that's where the Romans like came in from the Hezekiah's tunnels. And there are wet tunnels and dry tunnel. We went through the dry part. You can see how narrow that is. My husband like can barely get through. And we didn't have time to walk through the long tunnel, which the water can be like thigh high. And walking down, we went to the Siloam pool where Jesus like healed a blind man. He got the muds and spit on the muds and put it on his eye and said, go to the Siloam pool and wash yourself. And like touch me that Jesus healed someone that's there. And everyone can hear, like I heard about the Western Wall. We were able to go there. Like it's pretty restrict in their area. Men has one side, woman has another side, and some of the Jewish women, they go in and they actually walk backward to go outside, so they don't want their back to face the Holy of Holy or the Temple Mount. And as a group, we had a devotional there, and where Jesus enters Jerusalem, and that was good. So the next day, finally, we're able to go up to the temples, and the temple is controlled by Palestinian, so we have to go through the security, like a bridge and checkpoint. Couldn't bring your Bible. You have to hide your cross, and don't want to offend the Palestinian people. But we were able to get there. It's like amazing because not that many tours were allowed to get up there. So we were so lucky. Like again, this is the Eastern Gate. It's sealed. Like from the inside, you get a better view here. And other churches are inside the Temple Mount. So here's the view of the temple and the Holy of Holy when Solomon first built it. And that's the East Gate that the priest can go in there. And this is how it looks like now with the domes and decorated by, like built by the Palestinian people, and pretty restricted when we were there. You couldn't, women has to cover your heads, and you couldn't say anything Christians. And Tony and Andrea did good. They remind you, so not to. So here is the pool with 5 colonnades. Like remember the paralyzed guys that he laying by the pool there for many years, trying to get down to the pool to be healed. And this is another place touch a lot of people actually seeing where the pool is, and Jesus like walk up to the paralyzed guy. Do you want to be healed? Get up and walk. And another thing interesting I mentioned about like city in Israel, which is built on top, like see how low the pool is and how high this city is. Everywhere we walk, the old city is like 15 feet below. And it's just amazing. How did they get all these stone to build a city 15 feet high on stone? It's amazing. It's hard to believe, but seeing the pool here, it helped me visualize. And in the Bible, in John 5, I think Peter mentioned that the pool with 5 colonnades, like usually pool is 4 colonnades and just a square. But when they first excavate, they found 4 colonnades. Said either like they're wrong, the Bible is wrong. But when they further excavate, they found this is a double pool. So there's an extra colonnade in the middle between the 2 pools. That's why it's a 5 colonnades. And when they further excavate, they found like the water can leak out there. And that's the reason that when water come in from the outside, it stir up the water. People thought, oh, the angels stir the water. So my husband was one of them. I kind of have deep thought when he was there, that touched him quite a bit. So after that, we went walk the road of Via Rosa, like Catholic, like have this 14th station where Jesus was being judged and put on the cross, carry the cross. He meet a woman, he meets his mothers, and so we just like walk through those steps. It's hard, like your heart's heavy when you walk through. When I walk through this, and that Jesus carry his cross and being going to the place that he's being crucified. And this is one of the steps that he was carrying the cross. And one thing we found that in the old time when the criminal was being crucified, they only carry the horizontal bar of the cross. That I didn't know. Like nowadays, the whole cross to just make it look better. So here's station 6. Jesus met someone, I forgot who he met. And this is station 7. Jesus fell down. And station 9. So we finally get to the Holy Sepulchre Church, and it has because so many religions are claiming this is their religion, so their churches, inside churches, we have to go through that. But when we get to the top, here's the top of Golgotha. They build a box so you can look down and lower down and touch the top of Golgotha. Again, this might be a very popular place that you have to wait for 2 hours to touch that stone, but we only waited for 5 minutes, which is, and here's probably where they put the cross that Jesus was being crucified, and they build us decoration there. Near that, there is a cave, and they believe that Jesus might be put in there. Joseph's tombs, and some of us might think this might not be, because why would a rich guy get a tomb next to a crucifixion place? But their tombs are very, very popular, very common. You see a lot of tombs. And later on, we went to a garden tomb. That's a good replica of the tomb. There's a longer side, you put guys in there, and then a shorter side, probably a woman shorter, and then people put in tombs and in bombs for a couple of years, and their loved one will come and collect their bone. Here on the side, here's bone boxes that was built to the knee length of their body, and they go in and collect the bones, and then they put their bone party in the middle. So one of the tomb was in the Nazareth village. They resemble build these tombs with the stone. You can stone can roll, cover, and open. And then these are just tombs on the side of the road that we saw when our bus was driving. So tomb was really popular. And later in the afternoon, we were in the market. That's how the market looks like. And that's the Zion Gate, 1967, when Israel was preparing to take back Jerusalem. That's the gate that they went through and got in, and you see the machine guns, how strong those stones are. But machine gun is pretty powerful. They were able to break through this gate and got in and took back part of Jerusalem. And Jaffa Gate, that's the last date. We were in Israel. We went over there, and the Christian church, I think it's a Christian church that Andrea and Tony volunteered. That's the oldest Christian church in Jerusalem, across from the Jaffa Gate, the Tower of David. And I was when we were walking, we saw this old machine that lifting the stone. How do they build all those buildings with such a big stone? That's the equipment that they use, and which was fun. We went to an underground tunnel, and that's, people said that the Western Wall is closer to the Holy Holy. They thought this underground is actually even closer. So we had a lot of fun with our group. Our whole group bound so well between the two churches. We didn't know each other. Even with the same church, because we have 3 campuses, a lot of us do not know each other going in, but it was a great group of people that went together. But one of the amazing things was I went to just look at places. That's in my mind. But actually, throughout the trip, Pastor Josh and Tony, Andrea arranged different people to come share their testimony, local people. One first group was Young Life when we were up in the Sea of Galilee. Wael from Young Life came, and one of the things he said was, you guys came actually inspire us, lift us up, because we haven't seen Christian for 2 years. And being a Christian in Israel is really, really difficult life. because you're hated by the Muslim, you're hated by the Jew, you are the small, small, small minority. It's like less than 1%. And like, I couldn't imagine. I lived there because we heard about a lot of persecution of Christian around the world, but being there, listening to their testimony really inspired me that we are going there. I have no expectation to just like see where Jesus walked, because I want to bring the Bible to life. And without knowing that we are going there, actually inspired the local people. And Vaya was in tears, and because the last 2 years has not been easy. So when we were in Jerusalem, Parent Circle also came to share the story. Parent Circle is mixed with like parents lost their loved one, like a woman lost her son from tear gas of the Israelite people. Like she's a Muslim woman, and then a Jewish guy lost her daughters to a suicide bombing in Israel. They just want to come together and promote peace and share their story. Like they just want peace. And hearing their story was touching. And the last day before we left, Andrea and Marie came to share their story as a Christian living in Jerusalem, like their life. Andrea wrote this book, and my husband got this book, and someone gave us this books, and I actually got one for my sons to read and share their life in living in Jerusalem. So I think that's the bigger takeaway for me, that I was really touched by the story. And I not only want to go back to visit the place, because when I came back, my friend was sharing that she actually was able to take a couple hours to walk the city wall. We didn't have that. But like next time I go, I want to do some of those, walk from Bethlehem, walk up to Jerusalem. And we took a lot of bus, right? Jesus walk. When Jesus walked, we bus. And I want to be able to slow down and walk some of those places like Masada. I want to walk on Masada. I want to walk to Jerusalem. I want to hear the story. I want to be able to encourage others. And the reason I want to share, like the reason I put this PowerPoint together is it's hard to explain the trip. Like we can show photos, but I thought like, how easy is it? I put it together. So this is our trips, and this is what touched me. And I put this together and share on my Google Drive with my friends or people that went to Israel, and they can utilize this share and add their things. But it's amazing trip. I don't have a lot of trip that I said that I will go back again, but like we definitely will go back one day. So that's pretty much the whole trip. Andrea?
This is amazing. I am impressed how you remember all of that. Did you take notes during the trip?
We took note. You gave us that journal. That helped. And actually, I copied Daddy's note a lot. She was really good at taking notes. But I didn't take a lot of pictures. Actually, my husband, he has that camera. He took a lot of pictures. And some people would take pictures like Gloria's and her husband and Dom. They took pictures and they shared with the group. Remember, we were sharing on the bus, and actually I was the one that taking videos, but I took all these pictures from other people, and the notebook you gave really helped. I was able to follow that, and yeah, and I did it right away when I came back. So because it's still fresh. And yeah, it was like a couple of long nights. So because I'm someone, I want to get things done.
That's amazing. That's amazing. I'm so happy that you were able to put all of this together, and many people will be hearing this and hearing what you were sharing and on podcast, and also many people will see it also in different platforms of Twins Tours. Crystal, this is really amazing. I'm so encouraged that people remember all of this information, and also it's not only about the information. I can see that your life has been touched, and that from the people you met, like the Young Life, like the Parent Circle, and you did not only visit the dead stones, you visited the living stones too. So your eyes were opened to so much depth of the scripture. So that's what counts. And I pray one day you're gonna come again with Rob and and be a tour leader and bring groups and explain for them what you see, like you're saying. So you never know what's gonna happen.
Yeah, like we saw PowerPoint. Pastor Steve have went to Israel 4 times before we went. He put a PowerPoint together, but it's different when you are there.
Correct.
Versus listening to someone. Like it's 100 times better when you're there. So like I said, there are not that many places we'll go back, but Israel is definitely a place. Like we only touch the surface.
Correct.
There's definitely more to see. There are things that like you guys are great to able to customize different tours with different needs, and group can work with you. That's great.
Yeah.
Thank you for all you do. Thank you for sharing the story. Thank you for continue to live there, even though your life is hard, to share the land, share your passion, and encourage more people to promote peace.
Exactly. Sure, Crystal. Thank you so much. And this is what keeps us going, to see people sharing like this about the land. So thank you so much, and God bless your heart.
Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to share. This is amazing to be able to just like share. Like we share with so many of our friends. When we came back, we organized a night, like our friend would come to our house. We share this PowerPoint with them. And when we meet our friends at church or go out, we share with them. Yeah, we just have such a great experience.